What's up, Professor Wergeles here. We are moving on to lecture number 19. We're going to look at Get and Post, which is an important lecture, especially as we get into the server-side development. Now, we studied Get and Post a little bit back in our Forms lecture, but we're going to use it more frequently now because that's a way to communicate between the client and the server. We saw Forms was one way. We also looked at how we had a client and a server, and we used a form to communicate between the two. We're also going to use that with Get and Post. Get and Post is another way to communicate between the client and the server. Now, you should have a server set up. You should have LampStack installed. You should be able to connect through FileZilla. We're going to download this zip and upload it to the server. So let's download lecture number 19. Make sure you put it in a good spot in your lectures directory. We're on lecture number 19, Get and Post. I'm going to store the zip file here. Make sure you unzip it, and then make sure you upload it to your server. So what I like to do is find the lecture directory on your local machine. Come to FileZilla. Make sure you drag it into your lectures folder or directory. That way when you come to the browser, it's easy to find. So while that's uploading, I'm going to go back to my AWS console. You'll see your public DNS. So I can copy this public DNS, paste it in the browser. You'll see the default landing page, do a /lectures, and then you should see the directory structure on your server. Now, when you come to class, make sure you have Canvas open. Make sure you have your AWS console open. Make sure your server's running. Make sure FileZilla's open. Make sure Brackets is open. Have all these things ready to go, because as soon as you come to class, we're going to download the zip and upload it to the server. And if you come to class and you're trying to get to your console, trying to find your public DNS, trying to open up FileZilla, you're going to get left behind. You're going to say, wait, I'm still unzipping the file. I still open up FileZilla. I'm still uploading. And we're going to be already into the code. So make sure your AWS console is open. Make sure this connect to your instance page is open so you can pull all the information that you need. Make sure FileZilla is open. Make sure you're connected to your server. That way you just download the zip, upload with FileZilla, and you're ready to go. So when you come to these lectures, I'm expecting that you already have those applications and everything open and ready to go. Now on the browser, we're going to go to Get and Post. We're going to be in number 1, Forms. And on the code, so I'm going to go to FileZilla, go to Get and Post, number 1, Forms. We're going to look at index.html. So I'm going to right-click, do a View and Edit, and it should open up in brackets. We are in index.html. I'm going to close these previous files. These are all temporary files. If you've closed FileZilla, those files will be gone automatically. You'll see I'm in index.html. This folder is actually on my local machine. It has nothing to do with the code that we are implementing on the server. So if you want to get to the server code, make sure you're using FileZilla. Now there's other alternatives to FileZilla. For Windows, you have WinSCP. For Mac, you also have CyberDuck. I know a lot of people like CyberDuck, but I believe you have to pay for it, and you cannot follow my lectures directly. What I like about FileZilla is you can use it on Mac and Windows. It's for free. The only thing I don't like about it is every time you save, you have to go and click yes. It uploads to the server, then you have to refresh the browser. So that's a little bit repetitive, but it's free. You can follow along with me. You understand what's happening. It's easy to use. So my recommendation is to stick with FileZilla. Later, if you want to spend some money, you can go to get CyberDuck. But for this class, I recommend using FileZilla. Now, we're in index.html under number 1, Forms, and this is the form that we implemented a long time ago with the username and password and all the foods, comments, and a submit button. Now, remember, with a form, there's 2 things that are required. One, you need the action, which is going to be where the data is going to. If I look in FileZilla, you'll see I have a PHP script called process.php. So now we can finally upload this form data to the server, and then the server will take the data and, let's say, put it into a database. We're not to the database section yet, but we are to the point where we're finally uploading the data to the server. So here I'm going to put the server code, which is process.php. This action can actually be a link to another server. So instead of going to the same directory and looking for a file called process.php, it could go to professorworgeleys.com/process.php. It could go to google.com, wherever the PHP script is. In this case, I just put a file name there. So the server is going to go to the same directory and look for that file. I could go back a directory, so I could say, okay, I want to go back a directory and then look for process.php, or go into the PHP directory. Okay, so I can have whatever link here. In this case, we're going to process.php in the same directory, and the method we're first going to use is get. So I'll do get uppercase or lowercase, and I'm going to send this data using get to process.php. So let's go over to process.php. Make sure you upload this code to the server, and then open up process.php. Now in process.php, you're going to see this. I have a PHP script. I have some references here you can read. I'm saying if the server request method is equivalent to get. Okay, so 3 equals is equivalent, meaning it's also case sensitive equal. You'll see here the server request method is get, and I'm going to go through get and print out all the key value pairs. So if I save this code, type some data, type in Nick, hit submit. Okay, make sure you refresh the page. You should see the data print out. So the server request method is get, which is this print statement here. I'm printing out Nick, Iguanodon, interest is an array, foods is Baozi, and the comments is I like 2830, but my instructor is kind of weird. Okay, it's stating the obvious. Now, what happens if the method is post? What's nice about the server-side script is it doesn't really matter whether it's get or post. All I do here is use the get super global array, and if I do post, I just use the post super global array. Now, what is a super global array? A super global array always has an underscore followed by all caps. I do not need to declare that variable. It's declared automatically for me. It's a variable on the server, and it's accessible in any of my PHP scripts and any files on the server. Okay, so that's why it's called super global. It's accessible in any file, and it is an array because it has key value pairs. Same with post. So let's say I change this to post. I'll do a save. I'm going to come back to process.php, and let's do another if statement here. So I can copy this first if statement, paste it down below, clean up the code, and let's change the server request method. So instead of get, it's going to be post. I'm going to print out post in the print statement, and I'm going to do a for each. Instead of get, I'm going to go through the post super global array and print out all of its key value pairs. Let's update both sets of code. I'm going to update index.html and update process.php. Come back to the browser and refresh the page. Okay, I need to go back, refresh the form, type in some new data. I'm going to put Nick2 on all these so we know it's different. Click on send, and now you should see the updated data. So between get and post on the server side, it's not much different. Either I use the get super global array or the post super global array. Now remember what get and post were used for. If I come here to the comments, get is used for requesting something and navigation. Remember, get had a data length requirement. It can only be so long, so it's not good for sending data because I can only send so much data. In addition, it's in the URLs. Now, post is used for submitting data, actions, login, and file upload. Now, submitting data because Post does not have a data length requirement. It's good for actions like submitting a login form or requesting a database to delete something or inserting data into a database. It's also good for logins because it's not sent in the URL, so the user cannot see the data with their plain eye. It's actually in the HTTP body of the request and thus harder to get the information. It's also good for file uploads because files can be large and there's no data link. However, Post is not good for navigation because it cannot be bookmarked and it cannot be cached. If I go back to index.html changes to Git, will I see it in the URL? Yes or no? I'm going to save the code, upload it on the server, do a refresh, type in Nick3, hit send. Okay, if I come to my URL, you will see it in the URL, which is why Git is not good for sending sensitive information like username and password. If I come back over here, you'll see password is Nick3, username is Nick3. So I can plainly see the username and password, which is not secure, which is why Git should only be used for requesting something and navigation. If you have sensitive information, you should use Post. If you're uploading a file, you should use Post. If you're doing a login, you should use Post. And make sure you know this for an exam. You're going to see an exam question. When should I use Git? When should I use Post? What's the pros and cons for each? Why would I want to use Post? Why would I want to use Git? Stick with Professor Wergele. We're going to the next coding example. We'll see you in the next video.